Hello, everybody, and welcome to your Monday edition of the Blood Red podcast, brought to you by the Liverpool Echo. I'm your host, Theo Squires, and Liverpool are top of the Premier League table. What a glorious Monday this is. And joining me, we have our LFC correspondent, both home and away, though I'm not exactly sure who the hour refers to at the moment. You have to clarify, Gorsty. But it's Paul Gorst. How are you, Gorsty?
Good, yes. I wasn't there yesterday, was I? You two fine gentlemen were there instead, or rather...
somebody else here?
Yeah. But yes, I'm okay. I'm looking forward to talking through the bones of a Burnley game that I watched from the couch, which is a bit of a rarity these days.
Also joining us is Ian Doyle. You've got a new job title. Am I a bit too high-pitched for you as well?
Yeah, you do. You're very high-pitched.
Well, at least some things stay the same.
They do. I think we should may as well say, for anybody who missed it, Joe Rimmer, dearly departed. He's now gone. Yeah, he's not dead. He's just left. He's left the
building.
Red. Yeah. We also earlier in the week we lost Dave Powell, and before that we've Kiefer McDonald had gone. So there's three regulars who've been on the Blood Red podcast for quite a while now. So they will no longer be featuring, and it's a new era, isn't it, for everybody?
Yeah, it's all change here, and I'm not sure what to make of it. No Joe, new studio, new job titles. I've got a new Twitter handle. But fortunately...
Theo Squires.
Because I couldn't have Theo Squires. So I just thought I'd stick something else on
But
there.
you've got 15 middle names.
I know, and I didn't want to use them.
Why don't you do TSB Squires?
Yeah.
Theodore Sebastian
Because I
Barnaby.
wanted to still have the Theo in it, because that was what the original one is. So
Right.
if you're typing my old one, not realising I've changed, it's still going to come up.
I see.
I see.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Method in the madness,
Yes.
There is sense in
Theo,
it.
only one
Yeah.
Theo Squires.
Exactly. But yeah, we've gone through all this. There's so much change, but we will fortunately have one staple that is always there, and it never lets us down. It's NordVPN.
That's seamless, isn't it? Well done. He's
Unbelievable.
good at this. We can keep him. Should we keep him hosted? Yeah.
To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/bloodred. Our link will give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. As always, the link is in the podcast episode description box. Nord have had Saley out recently, so I've used that on my summer holidays, and that has been great for us. And Nord's always good for having protection when you go overseas. What's the first Champions League away day this year? Is it
Galatasaray, at the end of the month.
You're going to use that in Turkey?
Yeah, I'll have to, yeah. Sure. When I'm at the Ali Sami Yen, is it? It's still referred to as that. Welcome to hell and all that. So yeah, I'll have Nord by my side, and hopefully I'll be all right.
What was the famous Liverpool banner? Was it the Grafton one?
Yeah. Is it Grafton on?
Welcome to hell, my ass. Tried the Grafton on a Friday night.
Yeah.
But as ever, we're live on YouTube, so send in all your questions and comments. We'll get to them at some point during the show. Without further ado, let's get on to the football. Burnley 0, Liverpool 1. Doyle, you were there with me. It wasn't a pretty game, was it?
No, it was awful, wasn't it? It was absolutely terrible. First off, Burnley, I thought Burnley played really well. I thought they did a job. They knew exactly what they needed to do. You're playing against a Liverpool team that won the league by 10 points last year. They've got an awful lot of new forwards, obviously, but despite the we've had conversations about them still struggling to kind of connect, they'd still scored 8 goals, wasn't it? 8 goals in 10 if you count the 2 against Crystal Palace in the Community Shield. So that's 10 in 4 games. So they're obviously quite proficient going forward, still in a threat, if not quite yet what Liverpool would ideally want them to be. And I think we saw a bit of that, didn't we, during the game? I think we'll get on to Alexander Isak in a bit. He obviously wasn't there, and this is like the kind of game that he's presumably been bought for, to help them break down teams like this. I think, Burnley played very well, but in the end, while it's one of these games where, because essentially Burnley had one shot, didn't they, which was quite early on when Van Dijk had played a loose pass into midfield, and it ended up with, I think it was Jadon Anthony.
Over the bar, wasn't it?
Over the bar. So it was never really troubling Alisson, who probably touched the ball with his hands about 3 times in the entire match.
It was funny that we got him in the mix zone when he didn't have to do anything in the
That's
game.
probably why he felt like he needed to do it, yeah, because he hadn't done anything else.
Did you speak to Alisson, did you? Yeah?
I didn't, he did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that is going out tomorrow, I think.
Right.
It is, yeah. So there was that. But for Liverpool, they had, I think it was 81% possession in the end, 27 shots. They only had 4 on target. And that's fair play to Burnley for the way that they played, the way they defended. You can see why they only conceded 16 goals in 46 games in the Championship last season.
Someone's done their homework.
It's absolutely ridiculous. That it still is ridiculous.
30 clean sheets.
It's mad. At least, yeah. Got at least 30 because they might have conceded 3 in one game.
30 it was.
Oh, was it? So
yeah,
they
stat yesterday.
so they only conceded the most 1 goal in any game.
Must have done, yeah.
Oh, well. So, but Liverpool finally, got the job done. And I think it's also fair play to Arne Slot. I think he made the decisions with the substitutions, very much like he did. I'm trying to think what game it was last. Fulham at home certainly was one of them. There was another game last season, wasn't there, where
he's quite good at it, isn't he?
Yeah, he put Gravenberch at centre back, and he didn't really need him to be there anyway.
Well,
so
Nottingham Forest, where Tsimikas and Jota come on and score within 40 seconds.
That's right. I was getting confused with the one where Nunes scored at the end, and I knew that Slot wasn't in charge then, but that was another game where, for different reasons, Liverpool made changes. So, fair play to Liverpool. Frimpong is the one who wins the penalty with his cross. Hannibal,
or other.
What was it? Medjbri. Because I kept on forgetting what he's just called Hannibal anyway, isn't he? And you saw from his reaction straight away that he knew
he was devastated.
Yeah. It was just one of those ones where it was interesting because it just came from the sheer weight of pressure that Liverpool put on. Because Frimpong had a chance just before that, hadn't he, that Bradford had saved when Ungamoru would come on with him. I thought Ungamoru did. He was only on for about 8 minutes. He did really well.
If it's not Frimpong he passes to, it's probably a goal.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So, and then you got Mo Salah who steps up for the penalty. And while it's a penalty and you go, well, players should score these penalties, especially somebody like him, two things. One, he hadn't had a particularly good game. And the second thing, he'd missed his last two penalties. He'd missed one of them was in a friendly.
A space of a week, though.
Yeah, and then he obviously missed one in the shootout against Crystal Palace in the Community Shield. So he puts that one away, and it was more relief than anything else. I think if you'd have said at the start of the season Liverpool would win the first 4 games, and it's the first time they've done it since, I think, 2019, when they went on to win the league, you'd go fair play because they've had some tough games there. I mean, Burnley is going to be tough for any team that doesn't score early.
Or score many.
Yeah, but basically, if you don't score early on against Burnley, you are going to have some trouble, as Liverpool showed. And I think second half Liverpool's performance overall just about deserved it because they stepped it up. As I say about Slotley's substitutions, they were all spot on.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned there about Burnley's defensive, compactness and organisation, and when you've got a Liverpool team who are still getting used to each other's movements up front, certainly Ekitike, obviously Wirtz trying to find pockets of space and stuff like that. No surprise, really, that Liverpool struggled to create anything of note. But they stuck at it, and that's the key thing, wasn't it? And I don't find myself agreeing with Roy Keane very often, but we just sort of boiled it down to one line at the end on Sky after the game, and he just said, you stick at it, and that's what the top teams do, and that was true. I mean, that's been a truism of Liverpool's entire league campaign so far. I think the earliest winning goal they've scored was in the 83rd minute, so it shows you what kind of crazy season it's already been. But yeah, I mean, you say Burnley played really well. I say they defended really well, and they were obviously very organised and men behind the ball, and certainly what they're going to have to get used to in this league most weeks, aren't they? But I didn't think they offered too much of a threat going forward, other than that one shot.
But they'd have taken a point before the game.
Yeah, of course they will have, yeah. So
we're getting an argument about this in the comments as well. Producer Ian has been putting them on the screen, but I'm not sure if you can see them, and they've gone down now. Julian Baxendale goes, come on, Ian. Carroll's bang on about how great Burnley played, but they offered nothing at home and did everything they could to kill the spectacle. People need to stop saying this is great.
No, but it's great from their point of view. There's more than one way to win a game, or in this case, more than one way to not lose a game. And every single point for Burnley is going to be really, really important for them. Last thing they want to do is go play an expansive game against Liverpool, even if it's a Liverpool team that is still very much in a bit of transition. I think, don't forget, Burnley made quite a few signings as well, didn't they, over the summer? So I didn't have a problem with it at all. It basically means the onus is on Liverpool. I know other teams who'll go there, like Arsenal, you'd imagine Chelsea and City. They will play exactly the same way against them if they've got the same players available, more or less. And if they end up with 2 draws and 2 defeats from those 4 games, they'll be made up.
Yeah, I just don't think they'll have enough attacking wise in terms of, they can play like that most weeks and it might be good enough to keep a lot of teams out, but they didn't really show a whole lot going forward, did they? And it was pretty comfortable for Liverpool, from the halfway line onwards, really. But yeah, I mean, again, I thought Liverpool, there's this debate, isn't it, about have Liverpool played well this season? I think that's a bit unfair to an extent. I didn't think they were good yesterday. Sort of got away with one a little bit, given that it's a 95th minute penalty, but you keep going. But, the Newcastle away on a Monday night, first home game of the season for them, the unique circumstances around it with Alexander Isak and all that sort of stuff. That's one of the toughest games of Liverpool's season. That's probably the third hardest game they'll have this season after City away and Arsenal away. So to come away with victory from that, you can't say that they haven't played well. Ditto against Arsenal. Not many teams beat Arsenal, do they? Liverpool have beaten them 1-0. And Bournemouth, for their intensity, they're fourth at the moment. I think they've won all three of their games, haven't they, since Liverpool beat them? So to say Liverpool haven't played well yet does a little bit of a disservice to the other teams and probably to Liverpool as well, because I didn't think they were great yesterday. It was probably their weakest performance so far, but it's been a tough run. Other than yesterday, you would have expected, maybe something a little bit more straightforward. But it's, I think it's a bit harsh to say that they haven't played well, given that they played Newcastle and Arsenal in particular.
It comes down to mentality. Like these 4 late winners in successive games, it's not sustainable over a 38-game campaign. But it feels a bit different to say 2 years ago, when Liverpool were having to rely on late winners and it was just so chaotic. They never felt like they were in control of it. When, like, the Fulham game, for example, the 4-3, wasn't it? There was a few games like this, whereas Liverpool now, there seems to be more of a relaxation there. Like, you're not confident they'll definitely score, but they seem in control of proceedings.
Yeah, I think obviously it helps when the other team just want you to have the ball, which is obviously what Burnley were quite happy to do with. Just to pick up on a point you said, that Burnley aren't going to play like that when they play against Sunderland or the teams like that. In fact, they beat Sunderland at home, didn't they, 3-0. So they're only going to do that for the very, very top teams, and I don't have a problem with it. I think in terms of Liverpool, I thought the first half was very much a team that had been on an international break. They were still trying to get together. I think there was a bit of that, even if they did have the extra day. But we've seen so many games in the past where, to be fair, Liverpool's record after international breaks is pretty good. I mean, that was that kind of thing when, I think it was when Klopp first started, he was always complaining about them. But if you go back to then, they've lost very, very, very few games. And they tend to have been when they played someone like City, which is going to be a tough game for them anyway. So they've negotiated that. I think after the next international breaks, Man United at home, which is on a Sunday. I think that's correct. So
see if Ruben Amorim lasts that long.
Well, this is the thing. Yeah, I mean that's a completely different story entirely. But yeah, I thought Liverpool, as I said before, played a lot better in the second half. They were too slow first half, and I think they were just kind of feeling their way back into things, and they were coming up against a team that were just letting them have the ball. And sometimes that's not great because sometimes teams thrive on being pressurised, and Burnley were just sitting off, standing off, whatever, and just let Liverpool get on with it. And it's funny that Canati saw an awful lot of the ball in the first half. We know that if there's one player in the defence who's not particularly great or not as good as the others in terms of distribution, certainly from a creative sense, it's him.
Well, you thought they were going to let him have a shot a couple of times, didn't you?
Well, it was like you can't exactly. And having said that, I mean, he wasn't particularly great, but he didn't make any real mistakes, so we can't really pick on him. But we can't say the same for the guy who's playing at left back, Milos Kerkez, who had a little bit of a personal nightmare, I think it's fair to say.
Yes, that brings us on nicely to the left back in question. I didn't think he was too horrendous because he wasn't on the pitch long enough to be too horrendous. He gets booked for...
Is that a compliment?
It wasn't horrendous. It was just a silly mistake, wasn't it, to go down? But
he gets booked for the dive. It was a daft dive. And then Bournemouth. Burnley were catching him on the break a couple of times. There was one, wasn't there, where he does stop the counter-attack. No chance of a second yellow card. But, hang on, this is going to be your last warning here.
Yeah.
And having seen it against Bournemouth, which is why I said Bournemouth, when he was taken off on the hour mark, he's a bit rash at times when he's got that yellow card over his head.
Yeah, but I think it goes back to something Slot said a few weeks ago, possibly before the Bournemouth game or maybe the Community Shield, when he was basically accusing his players of being too nice, weren't he? If you remember, he feels that they should be winning more free kicks and certainly going to ground when they feel more contact and stuff. And I remember at the Bournemouth game, Ekitike holds her up and he does really well but loses out to a couple of challenges. And Slot was like that to him, as if to say, go down, go down. So you wonder if that was in the back of Kerkez's head when he maybe felt a slight contact and think, well, I'm in the box, I'll go down. Made himself look a little bit foolish by doing it. I think everyone would agree that it was definitely diving, it deserved the yellow card. But I just wonder whether that was something that he was taking his manager's instructions a little bit too literally. And then obviously when he gets the foul to stop the counter-attack, it is, sort of last warning territory. And for him to come off, it looks worse than it is. It's a bit like Chiesa being left out the Champions League squad. The optics of it aren't great, but when you sort of look at it, you think, well, Slot's probably taking him off because he knows that they're going to try and isolate him every chance they get now and try and get him sent off. And then, it could go anyway then, couldn't it really, if Liverpool are down to 10? So I thought it was a really smart decision and, just sort of backs up this idea that Liverpool have got two really good left-backs that they can just, chop and change as and when.
Well, yeah, Doyle Robertson came on and he played really well,
yeah,
didn't he?
He was good, yeah. I thought he was good. I think he was somebody who quite clearly wanted to make the most of his opportunity. And I think it was always going to happen at some point. For example, I fully expected him to play against Atletico Madrid, regardless. And I think he will. And I think he'll definitely play against Everton now.
Yeah.
I think possibly he could be the man in possession. And Robertson himself, he spoke afterwards, didn't he? He mentioned Kirk. Has he got a better man? He's still young. Is he 20?
21.
I think 21 now. Yeah. So he's 21, still young. Robertson joined Liverpool, and he was older than that when he joined. He'd had more experience in the Premier League, I think, or certainly in.
He'd suffered a relegation as well, so he had the knocks.
And he barely played for the first 3 months. So Kirkes has gone straight. And I know it's a different manager, but getting used to certain pressures, for example, it's a massive step up from Bournemouth to Liverpool in that sense, in the same way it was from Hull to Liverpool. And in Robertson, he's got someone who, while quite obviously he wants to play, he's not soft. He knows that, well, as things stand, he'll be gone at the end of the season. And Kirkes will be the future left back. So he'll want to help him, but help him up to a point where he says, okay, I've helped you this much, but now you've got to try and win your place back, because I think Robertson, as far as I'm concerned, should be the man in possession at least for the next couple of games.
And it's interesting with how Liverpool set up defensively, because I don't think the role's particularly helping Kirkes in terms of the right back is encouraged to get forward, whether it's overlapping Salah or being almost next to the striker at times, as we're seeing with Szoboszlai. Whereas Kirkes, he's got to be a bit more controlled. He's got to be in that back three, depending on where the midfield is shaping up.
Yeah, that's true. And it's something he's going to have to adapt to, isn't it? Obviously, at Bournemouth, it was different for him. He used to motor up and down the pitch and used to get in really advanced positions, put in some lovely crosses, and I seem to remember a great goal he scored at Newcastle. It's going to be different for him because, like you say, Liverpool look to use the right back in more of an attacking sense. Conor Bradley went close, didn't he, with that header? So that was a perfect example of what they were working on. I think it was Robertson who crossed it in, actually. So, yeah, that's a feature of Liverpool's game that he's going to have to adjust to over time. And yeah, I think the Robertson comparison one is actually it's one that makes sense because he came in, but Moreno was number one, wasn't he? Up until December time, I think
That's only because he got injured.
Was it Lokomotiv Moscow or
Spartak
Moscow in the Champions League?
And he done all right actually, Moreno that season. Yeah,
and then Robertson never really looked back after that. Then did he? I think the next game, actually, funny enough, was Everton at Anfield, and then he's been Liverpool's left back ever since, up until the start of this season. So yeah, I mean I think Liverpool are in a really good position generally with their left backs. They've got Kirkes, who's 21. With all the room in the world to improve and become a top class one. Robertson, who's the experienced, dependable head, getting him through the tough periods like, the next few days might be and whatever. So, yeah, I think Liverpool are okay there, but like Doyle, I fully expect Robertson now to play the 2 games this week.
We'll move on to Mohamed Salah now. It was another quiet performance from him. He's not had the best start of the season, yet he's still got 2 goals and an assist. You've already mentioned, Doyle, that he's missed a couple of penalties already this season. But when the pressure's really on, like 95th minute, 3 points on the line, he's the one who steps up.
Well, it's funny. There was no doubt that he was going to take it, which I think says everything about him and also says everything about the confidence that Slot's got on him. And he was asked a question after the game about, Salah hadn't had a particularly good game, but he was kept on the pitch and he was there to slot away that penalty. And we've seen throughout his Liverpool career, there's been games where he's done not a lot, but they've been quite reluctant to substitute him, and he's ended up producing towards the end, certainly when the opposing defences get a bit more tired. I think it's been a bit different for Salah this season. Well, he's never going to do what he did last season. He was never going to do that because even that was a bit of an outlier compared to some of his more recent seasons. I think with no Trent behind him, and to be honest, he's barely had a right back behind him, has he, since the start of the season, Szoboszlai being there. That's been a bit difficult. And with the other attackers not quite getting the right understanding yet and also not being a threat themselves, which means that opposing teams are quite happy just to leave one player on them and then possibly double up on Salah at times. I think there's been a little bit of that when Isak comes in. Be interested to see if that changes because, obviously he'll need certain attention and whether Salah can have a link up with him. But I would imagine that would be more Wirtz with Isak helping playing through. So I'm not expecting Salah to score anywhere near the same amount of goals as he scored last season.
Especially not with an AFCON.
Yeah, exactly. There's that coming as
He
well.
won't need to, will he?
Well, that's
theoretically.
Well, this is the thing, is that, and the pressure will be off him in that sense, and we doesn't necessarily have to play every single game either. And I think it'll all benefit him in the long run because Liverpool want him available for the big games and the big moments. That's why he was still on the pitch against Burnley.
We'll go on to Alexis McAllister now. Gorst, you probably had a better view of it than us too, seeing as you got all the TV replays. It was a pretty nasty tackle, and he did well to get through to half time, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He's always in the walls, isn't he, McAllister? Someone always appears to catch him at some stage. Be interesting to see what Slot says tomorrow. Will it be now? It was a press conference for the Atletico Madrid game, because he spoke that he was only going to give him an hour anyway, wasn't he? So that was pretty much why the change was enforced. But obviously it didn't help that he picks up that injury, and hopefully it's not too serious, but it didn't look good, especially when he slowed it down on the replay, and some suggestion he might have had, a straight red for that one. I've seen that ref watch on Sky Sports this morning with Dave McGallagher, and he agreed with the referee that it was just a yellow card. But at the moment, those types of tackles, you're not shocked if they go and review it, are you? So
it's a little bit different to Anthony Gordon's one, where Anthony Gordon came from miles away.
Yeah, and you've seen the marks on Van Dijk's calf, didn't you, after it? So yeah, I mean, hopefully McAllister's okay. He battled on, didn't he? But yeah, it wasn't a great one. And then obviously Ugochukwu ends up getting sent off anyway for the foul on Vert. So yeah, let's hope for a positive update on that one from Slot tomorrow.
Doyle, you called it an orange card at the time, didn't you?
Yes.
You sticking with that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't think it was quite a red, but obviously there is no such thing as an orange card. So
is that one of
I'm
those where if it is a red, if it is a red, you don't complain, and if it is a yellow, you don't complain?
If it's a red by the referee, he's not going to overturn it. But if it's a yellow, VAR aren't going to turn it into a red.
And you were
there
in
you go, just to find an orange card for you there.
You were in Slot's press conference after the game, weren't you? And
yes.
He did offer a little update. He said part of the reason he came off was the injury.
Yeah.
But that's not the only reason. They're still managing him carefully, aren't they?
Of course they are, yeah. I mean, he didn't finish last season, did he? And he didn't play for Argentina in the summer, and he didn't start pre-season.
His first appearance was Crystal Palace, wasn't it? In pre-season, I think so, yeah.
No, he had the first Bilbao friendly, didn't he? Or are we talking competitive?
Was that the same week? Oh yeah, that was a few days earlier, yeah.
So he's not had a lot of football, and it is going to be that case. The good thing for Liverpool is they've got 2 right-backs back now, 3 if you count Joe Gomez, and he means that Szoboszlai went into midfield, and I thought he played really well second half.
He did, yeah. Yeah, I think he's been Liverpool's player of the season, Szoboszlai, to be fair. Imagine if that one would have gone in, the Bravka save there in the second half, that would have been another goal of the month contender, wouldn't it? He's just making decisive contributions every game now, and that's what I think you've always wanted him to do. He's got the quality to do it. He's got the physical ability to make sure that he's decisive late into these games, and that's certainly what he's been doing. I thought he was really, really good. Obviously not being overly tested at full-back, but got in some decent positions, from the forward thinking part of the game, and when he went into midfield, he didn't notice a dip in Liverpool's ability to keep the ball and keep Burnley penned back. So another good performance from him. And at the moment, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because you can't really take him out the team, but then you're thinking who comes out the team for him.
It's quite telling as well that we look at Liverpool not being at the best. It's in the attack where it's new relationships. It's in the defence where there's new relationships. But the midfield is doing pretty well there. The 2 best players for me, and I think it was the same in your rating story, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai.
Yeah, Gravenberch was the best player on the pitch in the first half. I gave him man of the match in the end because he kind of kept it going. And he ended up, as I say, playing ostensibly at centre-back, but he wasn't really, was he? I think Liverpool were basically living in the Burnley half by that
I think that's what Slot talks about, doesn't he, when he says about Gravenberch being able to play centre-back. I think if he does that, you don't want to see it, but it's a game state thing where he thinks, well, we're having loads of the ball, we only really need one centre-back in there. So, I agree with you. I thought he was excellent.
Alexander Isak now, he wasn't at Burnley.
Correct, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
No, he was not there, yeah.
Were you there watching the bus come in?
No, I missed it. No, I did see. Yeah, I did see them. Yeah, they did come past me. Yeah,
I think you already knew before that he wasn't going to be there, didn't you?
No comment.
But yes, no Alexander Isak there. They are being careful with him as well. There's a hope that he should make his debut against Atletico Madrid. But would you care to elaborate on what Arne Slot has said?
Basically, there's 2 games coming up. Atletico Madrid on Wednesday. Bless you, Ian. You can't hear that. Our producer Ian has just sneezed. We've all got a cold here, so I think it's not down. It's not down. Not looking good for you. And then Everton on Saturday, and Slot said that, look, we could have played him for 15 minutes against Burnley. We could then play him for 20 minutes against Atletico. And we could have played him for half an hour against Everton, but we didn't think that was the brightest thing to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to give him 45 minutes or more, presumably up to about 60, against Atletico. And if we don't do it there, we'll do it against Everton. However, if he does that against Atletico, he will not be doing that against Everton. So it seems one of these next 2 games, he's going to have a reasonable chunk of playing time, but he'll be very restricted in the next one. And then the game after that is Southampton in the League Cup. And I suspect they'll just see where he's at, because that seems quite a nice game to give him a bit of an elongated time on the pitch.
Yeah, that would be the one that he's penciled in to start, I'm sure. I was surprised that he wasn't involved yesterday. Particularly the way the game went, you're sort of crying out for someone who might be able to nick a goal in the final 10, 15 minutes, aren't you? But in terms of finding minutes for him, that might have been the one that we can maybe sort of predict the pattern of the game a bit more than Wednesday night against Atletico Madrid and Everton in the Premier League. So I was surprised by that, and they're going to have to find minutes for him somewhere soon, because otherwise, you're just going to be left with a player who should be playing and there's nowhere near fit enough to play, and is at risk of getting muscle injuries when he does. So I've just spoken to John Aldridge for his Echo column, and he was talking about the old days of...
Was he really talking about the old days? Yeah.
When they'd organise friendlies behind closed doors, or you'd go over to Tranmere or Accrington and try and get minutes in the legs of these players. I don't really think that happens much anymore.
They can't even play in the reserves anymore, can they? Because it's not even the reserves.
Yeah, well, exactly.
You see the occasional one in the Football League trophy. I remember you seeing Artemello, didn't you?
Well, Chiesa played last year, didn't he, for the 21s? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was in the...
Did he score?
Yes, it was the International Cup, I think, wasn't it?
I think Liverpool... It was the day Liverpool played Newcastle at St James's.
Yeah, because I watched both games at home.
Yeah. So, I mean, I couldn't really see anything like that. Be a bit strange, wouldn't it? Isak, the high-profile nature of the transfer, and there he is turning out for the 21s or whatever. But, yeah, they're going to have to find minutes for him at some stage. And, I don't really think you can state with certainty that they're going to come on Wednesday or Saturday because of how those games might pan out.
I'd be surprised if he starts. I know Slot's come out and said 45, 60 minutes, but just how they managed Chiesa last year, for example, and he does have a little bit of an injury past. Do you think when you've got Ekitike there, it might make more sense to tread a bit more carefully?
I'd be amazed if he starts against Atletico.
Yeah,
to be fair.
Yeah. But Ekitike, again, he needs to build up this ability to play 90 minutes in the Premier League, doesn't he? Sort of gets to 65, 70, and then we've seen on more of him. I think he's been taken off in every game. So, I mean, maybe that's the ideal sub, Isak for Ekitike. But I'd be shocked if Isak starts Wednesday.
And then obviously they've also got the caveat of against Atletico, they can't send Chiesa on for Ekitike. It's going to have to be Isak or Engamoa if they want an attacking option.
Correct.
Okay. We'll move on to a few questions now, because there is actually one about Chiesa and Engamoa. Julian goes, do you boys think Slot will trust either of them to start a League or Champions League game? I can say straight away that
Chiesa's definitely not playing in the Champions League.
Doyle got there first.
Yeah.
They have made a UEFA rule change, so that could happen at some point if someone gets injured.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Don't you read Theo's stuff?
If I can avoid
his own stuff. But yeah, where do you think these guys are fitting into the squad now? Because obviously they both come on against Burnley. Both did okay, considering Liverpool still struggling to knock at the door. Could we see him start games, or is it just you're on the bench?
Chiesa missed the header, didn't he? Which was very early on, and I think it was his first touch, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was.
It would have been his first touch, so it would have been more interesting had it been 5 minutes later. Engamoa, again, he mentioned before, he made a positive difference when he came on. In terms of starting games, they'll both start against Southampton next week. I can't see them starting a Premier League game anytime soon unless there's injuries, but then that's what the squad's for.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if either of them start a Premier League game, like Doyle says. I've got very different emotions around the idea of both of them coming on the pitch even. And Engamoa, it's quite exciting, and maybe it's 15, 20 minutes to have a run at the defence and see what he can do. With Chiesa, it's sort of, something's gone wrong here on the pitch. Liverpool turning to Chiesa because I still think he hasn't done a whole lot. Maybe I've got a bit of a downer on Chiesa. Maybe
it's been noted.
Maybe I'm being a bit unfair.
You're worried about Chiesa.
Feddy's been on the phone and he was saying, "Come on, can you get Gorsty to liven up?"
Yeah, I just don't think I just don't think he's up to it, if I'm being honest. I think...
Wow.
That's the
Yeah,
clip.
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, he's been at Liverpool now for a year. I'm still waiting for him to show what he can do. And obviously his minutes are, he doesn't get loads, does he? Because Salah plays in his position and stuff. But he's I don't think there were many tears shed when he's left out the Champions League squad, or there should have been really. But he's got to show what he can do when he gets the opportunities. And yesterday you're crying out for an intervention, aren't you? Misses that one when he comes on, and maybe see him do much else.
You know what happens now, don't you? This clip of you just slaughtering
I hope
Kaiser.
so.
It's going to go viral. He's
Yeah.
going to see it in the dressing room,
It'll
score
be-
the winner in the derby, and
Yeah.
then shush you.
Yeah,
They'll-
I hope so.
they'll-
Yeah,
they'll
100%.
clip it and put it up on the
Yeah.
screen, and I don't know how that would work. But
They'll
in the
stick
dressing
the
room.
headlines up on the
yeah,
wall.
they'll just have a little video going around. You just go, and he's not up to it. He's not up to it.
I hope I'm proven wrong, but when it comes on, it's almost like a bit of a.
Careful,
This
careful.
is a bit of a roll of the dice already, and that's why Liverpool needs to get Isak fit sooner rather than later, because very different opinions of both of those players.
Paulie's asking about Ekitike. Says he's looking good. Once he builds his strength up, he'll be scaring defenders. How do you guys think he did against Burnley? There was that one moment where
Just
he
before half time.
Yeah.
That's the only
burst by
chance.
the
The only chance he had. It's the one he had to invent himself.
It wasn't really a shot, was it?
He doesn't get any service.
Salah should have been at
Right
the
on
back
that,
post
yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should have been a tap in. And I think Salah mentioned it the other week about building these new relationships, didn't he? And Salah, there was obviously that response to the tweet, wasn't there, where he was accusing the account of disrespect for Diaz and Nunes, and they were two players who Salah loved playing with, Nunes in particular. And I think he knows that it might take some time to build up similar sorts of relationships, and players have they have friends on the pitch, don't they? They know what runs they're going to make and what moves they're going to peel off a defender's shoulder here or running behind there, and it's just taking time to come. I'm sure it will, but that was a perfect example of it yesterday, where Ekitike goes round and sticks it across the face, and it's unlucky in the end, but could easily have been a tap in for Salah had he read the move a bit earlier.
Sanjay Mystery has a question for you, Doyle.
Yes.
Apparently you predicted 1-0 against Burnley.
Did I?
He said, did you know it was going to be a frustrating afternoon?
Yes.
Good to know. And Julian Baxendale, he's got a few questions in here, but this one is, do we reckon that Gakpo, Verts, Salah and Ekitike start both games this week? 3 times in 6 days is a lot. We need a bit more rotation.
It's a good question.
I think he'll
actually.
play Verts on Wednesday in Champions League. I think he's been brought in for Champions League specifically. And Saturday again, it's another
Tough one, isn't it?
another intense
Szoboszlai's
one,
definitely
isn't it?
playing against.
I reckon it comes
Everton.
down to if Curtis Jones is fit, if McAllister's definitely shaken off that ankle injury. I suppose this brings us on to lineups now. We'll actually talk about Atletico Madrid. They've got a few injury problems themselves as well, haven't they? They've got Alvarez came off at the weekend. How are we feeling about this one?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like it's a vintage Atletico Madrid team. It's certainly one that Diego Simeone's had over the years. Of course, he's the big star there, isn't he, still? But, yeah, I don't feel as... I think Liverpool have played Atletico Madrid now, what is it? This will be the 3rd time in 5 years. Or 6 years. No, 5 years, isn't it? And this is probably, on paper at least, the weakest of those 3 Atletico Madrid teams. So, yeah, let's see. I mean, it's going to be difficult. It always is. We know how Simeone has them well drilled and whipped up and all that sort of stuff. But I'm just not sure they've got enough or as much quality as they might have once had. And Liverpool won the last one, didn't they? It was nearly 4 years ago now. So, yeah, it'll be tough. Of course it will. But, I think if Liverpool play like the occasion demands, if that makes sense, big Champions League night, I think Liverpool should have enough.
I think the injury concerns they've got are Alvarez, David Hanko, who obviously Arne Slot knows very well, and Robin Le Normand. Can we say that in French? We need Joe for this. He'd be able to do the accent better than me. But yeah, Atletico Madrid with Alvarez is going to be a very different threat than without him. We actually saw a few reports, didn't we, the other week about Liverpool asked after Alvarez when Diaz was sniffing around Man City. How do you feel about this game, Dawley?
It's Diego Simeone, isn't it? It's basically going to be about him. I mean, if there's one person who loves to rile opposing fans, it's him. And I think we were on something last week where we both said that we actually really like him, and I think he's great. I think he's one of those people that literally lives and breathes every single kick, and there's a reason why he's been manager at Atletico Madrid for as long as he has. I mean, this season they got the win at the weekend. That was their first win this season at the 4th game. Last season they finished 3rd, didn't they, in La Liga? Got to the
Mid-table
round of 16, and like Liverpool went out on penalties, though they lost to Real Madrid. Remember, it was the double kick. Was that Alvarez? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So there was that. So yeah, Liverpool have had some problems with them. Remember in 2010, I did the Europa League semi-final where they fall on, wasn't it? In the front of the cup.
That was a really good Atletico team.
And they ended up beating Fulham in the final. And we know about 2020, the 2 games home and away. Where
it's probably a bit more straightforward in 2021, wasn't it? You expected them to be more of a threat than they were.
Well, you were there, weren't you, for the game in Madrid, which they won 3-2 Liverpool?
Yeah, that was a brilliant game, that. Liverpool went 2-0 up, got pegged back, and then Salah gets a penalty in the
was that Keita scoring a scream?
Griezmann got sent off, didn't he, for a high foot?
Yeah. What's the name of their ground? Been there twice.
It's not called
Wanda Metropolitano, isn't it?
It's something else, Metropolitano.
Oh, is it? But yeah, I mean, like I say, I think this is the weakest of the 3 Atletico teams that Liverpool have played this decade. But yeah, it will be tough, won't it? I mean, they've got Soloth, who used to play for Crystal Palace. I think he's sort of reinvented himself since he's gone to Atletico. Griezmann's still there, I think.
Conor Gallagher's one of the stars.
Conor Gallagher, yeah, of course, yeah. But Alvarez is obviously the big star, isn't he, at the moment? And if he doesn't play, that's a massive boost for Liverpool.
We'll do Liverpool lineups now. Back 5, imagine it's going to be 2 changes. But yeah, what are you going to do, Gorsty?
Bradley or Frimpong, isn't it? Is the big one. I'll go with Frimpong and Robertson.
Same for you, Doyle?
No, I'm going to go with Robertson and Bradley, and obviously Canati, Van Dijk, and Alisson in goal.
And what about your midfield?
Midfield, McAllister's not playing, which is interesting because that means that Szoboszlai's going to have to go in, but he's going to have to play on the left, which is not his best position. But I'm going to put him there anyway. Alongside Gravenberch and Wirtz is number 10.
Yeah, I'll go with that actually. Yeah, I
don't really have much other choice, do
I
they?
think McAllister. I mean, he might be able to play, but
Curtis might be bad. But you want to get Szoboszlai in the team.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a wild shout for Endo, but I don't think anyone would do that, would they? Yeah, I'll agree with Doyle.
And then your front 3 again. Options a little bit limited depending on fitness elsewhere.
Yeah, Ekatike for 70, and then Isak for 20.
Same for you?
Salah, Gakpo, Ekatike, but Isak on after 25 minutes to go, just to be awkward.
Yeah, you're saying that just to be different.
Yep.
We'll do score predictions now.
2-1.
2-1 Liverpool.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah, why not?
There's a man who couldn't be any more less interested.
No, it's just, I mean, it's like I say, it's going to be tough, but I think Liverpool, are the better team. But I think the midfield is going to be key, isn't it? I think Gravenberch was really good yesterday. He needs to carry that on. I think he's had a good couple of weeks. More of the same.
I think after Liverpool toiled against Burnley, Champions League nights back at Anfield, they should get a bit more from him this game.
Yeah, I think so. It's it's always different, isn't it? Night game at Anfield, Champions League. You can, doesn't really matter what's happening in the league at that time. Liverpool's, they just seem to show up on these nights, so I expect them to do so again.
That's all we've got time for today. We'll be back on Friday. Producer Ian, Friday? Hopefully. Yeah, keep an eye out. It'll be Thursday or Friday. To look ahead to the Merseyside derby. Thanks to Gorsty and Doyle for joining me. Thank you, gentlemen. Until next time, goodbye.